Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm here to talk about something truly powerful. How to destroy him without ever lifting a finger, without revenge, without hate, and without hurting him. Because real power isn't about destruction, it's about evolution. Too often we waste energy plotting, reacting, and trying to prove a point to those who have wronged us. But what if I told you that the greatest way to win is not through war, but through wisdom? That the most effective way to shift the power in your favor is not by hurting him, but by outgrowing, outshining, and outclassing him. This is not about bitterness. It's about transformation. This is not about revenge. It's about reclaiming your power. Because the best way to make someone irrelevant is to make yourself unstoppable. Today, I'll show you how to turn pain into power, setbacks into success, and betrayal into the fuel that propels you forward. This is how you shift the power without ever looking back. Are you ready to rise? Detaching and elevating yourself beyond the influence of someone who has wronged you is one of the most profound and strategic moves you can make. It's not about pretending they don't exist or forcing yourself to forget the pain they may have caused. It's about reclaiming your energy and redirecting it towards something far greater, your personal growth and evolution. The more you focus on them, the more power you unknowingly give away. Every moment spent plotting, reacting, or dwelling on what they did is a moment you could have invested in yourself. True detachment is not passive. It is an intentional act of self-preservation and self-empowerment. It is choosing to rise above rather than sink to their level, choosing to lead your life instead of being controlled by emotions tied to someone else's action. When you detach, you remove their influence over your emotions. You stop allowing them to dictate how you feel, how you respond, or what direction your life takes. Emotional detachment does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means acknowledging them, understanding them, and then deciding that they will no longer be the driving force in your life. It is about taking a step back and seeing the bigger picture. Realizing that your life is too valuable to be consumed by resentment or obsession over what someone else is doing. When you master detachment, you regain full control over yourself. And in doing so, you strip them of the power they once had over you. Elevating yourself comes naturally once you have detached. When you shift the focus inward, your growth becomes inevitable. You begin to recognize that the best revenge is massive success. Not in a petty, vindictive way, but in a way that makes their existence irrelevant to yours. The higher you rise, the smaller they become in your world. People often try to destroy others by engaging in conflict, but the real destruction happens when you evolve beyond the need for any form of retaliation. Your success becomes a silent response, one that speaks volumes without you ever needing to utter a single word. Growth in this context is not just about career achievements or financial success. It's about mental, emotional, and spiritual evolution. It's about becoming so strong, so secure, and so confident in yourself that nothing they do or say can shake you. It's about developing the kind of mindset where you see their actions as insignificant because you are operating on an entirely different level. When you elevate, you naturally separate yourself from those who operate on lower frequencies. People who thrive on drama, negativity, and emotional manipulation. You no longer seek validation or closure from them because you have found it within yourself. One of the most powerful ways to elevate yourself is by investing in personal growth. This means feeding your mind with knowledge, surrounding yourself with people who inspire and uplift you, and dedicating your time to things that add value to your life. The moment you start focusing on your own evolution, you begin to notice a shift. Your energy changes, your confidence grows, and suddenly their presence in your life seems insignificant. The things that once triggered you no longer hold the same weight because you have outgrown them. This is the ultimate power shift. When someone who once had a hold on you becomes nothing more than a faded memory in the backdrop of your success. Self-discipline plays a crucial role in detachment and elevation. When you train your mind to resist the urge to react emotionally, you gain an unparalleled level of control over your life. Emotional reactions often give power to those who least deserve it. They thrive on your anger, your sadness, and your desire to prove something to them. But when you cultivate self-discipline, you learn to channel those emotions into productive actions. Instead of spending hours overanalyzing what they did, you use that time to work on your goals. Instead of seeking revenge, you build a life so fulfilling that they become irrelevant. Elevating yourself also means redefining your self-worth. Many times, people get trapped in toxic cycles because they believe they need to prove something to the person who hurt them. They want to be acknowledged, to be seen, to be missed. But true elevation comes when you realize that your worth is not dependent on their validation. You don't need them to regret losing you for you to know your value. You don't need them to see your growth for it to be real. Your journey is yours alone, and it should never be dictated by a desire to impress or prove anything to someone else. When you fully detach and elevate, you become untouchable. You no longer seek revenge because you understand that the best way to destroy them is to live so well that they can't even affect you. The person who hurt you may expect you to break down, to chase after them, or to stay stuck in the past. But when you rise, you shatter their expectations. You show them, without ever saying a word, that they were never as powerful as they thought they were. They do not define you. They do not control you. They do not have the ability to break you. Detachment is not about indifference. It is about prioritizing yourself. It is about deciding that your peace is worth more than any battle, your growth is worth more than any grudge, and your future is worth more than any temporary satisfaction that revenge could ever offer. When you make the conscious decision to focus on yourself, to elevate beyond negativity, and to invest in your own journey, you unlock a level of power that is unmatched. The moment you stop allowing them to live rent-free in your mind is the moment you take back everything they thought they had control over. True elevation is a mindset. It is knowing that no matter what they did, no matter what they said, they no longer have a place in your world. You outgrow them not because you are trying to prove a point, but because you are too busy building something greater. Your energy shifts from fighting battles that don't serve you to creating opportunities that elevate you. You start walking with confidence, speaking with purpose, and living with intention. And in doing so, you silently but effectively erase them from your life. The irony of detaching and elevating is that it often has a more profound impact on the person who wronged you than any direct confrontation ever could. When they see you thriving, when they realize that their actions didn't break you but instead built you into someone stronger, they lose the power they once had. They are left watching from a distance, unable to reach you because you have risen too high. The very thing they may have tried to diminish, your confidence, your happiness, your success, becomes the very thing that sets you free. By shifting your energy from them to yourself, you are not just moving on, you are evolving. You are stepping into a version of yourself that no longer has space for the past. You are choosing growth over grudges, success over spite, and power over pettiness. And in doing so, you redefine what it means to truly win. Mastering the power of silence is one of the most underrated yet powerful strategies when it comes to shifting control in any situation. Silence is not weakness, nor is it submission. It is a deliberate choice, a tool of immense power that allows you to navigate through situations with a level of control that words often fail to provide. People who react impulsively, who engage in constant battles of words, who seek validation through arguments, often find themselves drained and manipulated by those who understand the power of remaining silent. The ability to withhold words, to resist the urge to explain, defend, or retaliate is a skill that separates those who control their energy from those who allow their emotions to dictate their actions. Silence speaks louder than any insult, any confrontation, or any attempt to seek closure. It unsettles those who expect a reaction. It confuses those who are used to controlling you with their words and actions. When someone tries to provoke you, whether through insults, betrayal, or manipulation, their goal is often to elicit an emotional reaction. They thrive on your frustration, your desperation to be understood, your desire to prove them wrong. The moment you engage, you validate their actions. You give them exactly what they want, proof that they still hold power over your emotions. But when you master silence, you take that power away. You create a void that they cannot fill, a space where their words lose meaning because they are met with nothing. People fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. Those who hurt you expect a reaction. They expect an argument, an emotional outburst, a desperate attempt to fix things or fight back. When none of that comes, they are left questioning themselves. They wonder if you no longer care, if they no longer hold significance in your life, if their actions were even worth the effort. The power of silence lies in the uncertainty it creates. It forces them to sit with their own actions without the comfort of your engagement to justify or validate their behavior. Using silence as a response does not mean suppressing your emotions. It means understanding that not every battle is worth fighting. It means choosing to conserve your energy for things that matter instead of wasting it on people who seek to diminish you. Silence is an act of self-control. It allows you to rise above the noise, to detach from drama, and to keep your dignity intact. The more you engage in unnecessary conflicts, the more you feed into a cycle that drains you. But when you step back, when you refuse to react, you break that cycle. You shift the dynamic in your favor without lifting a finger. Silence is also a tool of observation. When you remain quiet, you give yourself the space to see things clearly. You notice patterns, you recognize manipulation tactics. You understand people's true intentions. Those who talk the most often reveal the most, while those who listen hold the true power. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop justifying your actions to those who do not deserve an explanation, you regain control over your narrative. You no longer allow others to dictate how you feel or how you should react. You move with purpose, knowing that your silence is not submission, but strategy. People often equate silence with indifference, but it is much more than that. It is strength in its purest form. It is the ability to stand in your own power without needing validation from others. It is understanding that some things are better left unsaid because words can be twisted, but silence remains untouchable. It is realizing that you do not owe anyone an explanation for your choices, your boundaries, or your growth. The less you say, the more powerful your presence becomes. In conflict, silence is often the most unsettling response. When someone lashes out at you, when they expect you to defend yourself, to argue, to plead your case, and you give them nothing, it disrupts their entire strategy. They are left fighting an invisible opponent, swinging at air, struggling to maintain control over a situation they no longer dominate. Silence turns the tables without you having to do anything. It forces them to question their own actions because without your response, they have nothing to measure their impact against. One of the greatest strengths of silence is its ability to create mystery. When you do not react, when you do not explain your next move, when you do not give people access to your thoughts, you become unpredictable. People fear what they cannot understand. They are unsettled by what they cannot control. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you become a force that others cannot manipulate. Your silence becomes a statement in itself, a message that you are in control, that you do not seek validation, that you are operating on a level where their words and actions no longer affect you. The most successful people understand the value of silence. They do not waste energy on meaningless battles. They do not engage in every argument or try to prove themselves to those who do not matter. They know that true power lies in actions, not words. When you master silence, you learn to let your progress speak for itself. You focus on building yourself instead of breaking others. You channel your energy into growth instead of revenge. And in doing so, you leave those who once tried to control you grasping at nothing. Silence is a form of discipline. It requires strength to hold back when every part of you wants to react. It takes maturity to understand that not everything deserves your response. But once you master it, you become untouchable. You no longer get drawn into unnecessary conflicts. You no longer give people the satisfaction of knowing they can affect you. You no longer waste time proving your worth to those who never valued you in the first place. The ability to remain silent in moments of conflict, in situations where your emotions are being tested, is a sign of ultimate self-control. It allows you to protect your peace, to maintain your dignity, and to shift the power dynamic in your favor. When someone expects you to react and you do not, you send a clear message. You are in control. You decide where your energy goes. You determine what is worth your time. And more often than not, the best response is no response at all. As the sun set over the San Francisco Bay, the team knew they had done it. Their new voice AI platform wasn't just faster, it was a paradigm shifter. Outshining rather than outfighting is the ultimate display of power and control. Many people waste their energy engaging in battles that do not serve them, responding to insults, retaliating against those who wrong them, or trying to prove a point. But real dominance comes not from reacting, but from rising above. The most effective way to dismantle someone who sought to hurt you is to become someone they can no longer reach. Someone who thrives regardless of their actions, someone whose success becomes the loudest and most undeniable response. The idea of fighting back is often appealing because it gives an immediate sense of justice. Confronting someone, calling them out, or proving them wrong feels satisfying in the moment, but in reality, it does not change anything. If anything, it keeps you stuck in the same energy they operate in. Engaging in conflict keeps you tied to the situation, keeps you emotionally invested, and gives them continued relevance in your life. But when you choose to outshine rather than outfight, you remove yourself from that toxic cycle. You focus on your own path, on your own growth, on your own elevation, and in doing so, you make them irrelevant. Success is the best response because it is undeniable. When you rise above the negativity, when you build a life so fulfilling that their presence becomes insignificant, you show them that they never had power over you in the first place. People who seek to bring you down expect resistance. They expect you to fight, to react, to lose focus. But when you refuse to play their game and instead pour all your energy into becoming the best version of yourself, you disrupt their entire strategy. They no longer have control over your emotions, your actions, or your direction. They are left watching from the sidelines as you thrive, unable to do anything about it. Outshining someone does not mean making your success about them. It is not about proving them wrong, nor is it about seeking validation through your achievements. It is about shifting your mindset from revenge to self-improvement. When you redirect all the energy you could have wasted on negativity into personal growth, you create a future so bright that their presence fades into irrelevance. You become so focused on building, achieving, and thriving that there is no space left for resentment or bitterness. The higher you rise, the less their existence matters. People who try to bring you down are often operating from a place of insecurity. They thrive on competition, on seeing others struggle, on feeling superior through conflict. When you choose to disengage from that energy and focus on yourself, you take away their source of power. They cannot control someone who is too busy succeeding to care. They cannot manipulate someone who refuses to engage. They cannot keep you down when you are only looking up. This is how true power is established, not through petty battles, but through undeniable progress. One of the greatest ways to outshine without outfighting is by refining yourself in every aspect. This means investing in your skills, your mindset, your physical and mental well-being. It means setting goals and achieving them, not to prove a point to anyone, but because your growth is the most valuable thing you can focus on. When you dedicate yourself to becoming the best version of yourself, you naturally rise above those who seek to keep you small. You become someone they can no longer reach, someone they can no longer affect, because you have elevated yourself beyond their influence. There is also a psychological impact to success that many people underestimate. When someone who tried to hurt you sees you thriving, it forces them to confront their own shortcomings. It makes them realize that their efforts to bring you down were not only ineffective, but completely insignificant in the grand scheme of your life. This is where the true power shift happens, not because you fought back, but because you proved, simply by moving forward, that they never had control over you to begin with. To outshine rather than outfight means taking control of your own narrative. It means understanding that your story is not defined by the people who tried to harm you, but by how you chose to rise despite them. It means recognizing that true success is internal. It is the peace you find within yourself, the confidence that no one can shake, the self-worth that is not dependent on outside validation. When you cultivate these things, you become untouchable. No insult, no betrayal, no act of malice can shake you, because you are too grounded in your own purpose to be swayed by negativity. Another key element of outshining is maintaining composure. People who seek to hurt you want to see you lose control, want to see you spiral, want to see you act in ways that prove their influence over you. But when you remain calm, focused, and unaffected, you deny them that satisfaction. You show them that their presence holds no weight in your world. Your silence, your progress, your refusal to engage becomes the ultimate response. It leaves them questioning their own actions, wondering why they wasted energy on someone who refuses to be affected. The power of outshining is that it is a long-term game. It is not about quick wins or temporary satisfaction. It is about creating a life so full, so successful, so meaningful that looking back at those who once tried to hurt you becomes unnecessary. It is about realizing that the best way to win is not by beating them at their own game, but by rising so far above them that they no longer exist in your reality. The most powerful revenge is not revenge at all. It is a life so well lived that their actions become a forgotten footnote in your story. Many people waste years trying to get back at those who wronged them, trying to prove their worth, trying to force recognition from those who never valued them in the first place. But when you truly understand the power of self-improvement, you realize that none of that matters. The moment you stop seeking validation from external sources and start focusing entirely on your own growth, you become unstoppable. Your success is no longer about proving anything to anyone. It is simply a natural byproduct of your dedication to becoming better every single day. There is an undeniable energy shift that happens when you outshine rather than outfight. You no longer carry resentment. You no longer waste time in meaningless conflicts. You no longer let past hurts define you. Instead, you operate with clarity, with purpose, with an unshakable confidence that only comes from knowing that your focus is exactly where it needs to be, on your future, not on your past. This is the mindset that separates those who stay stuck from those who rise. The true mark of success is when you reach a point where you no longer care if they see it or not, when their existence no longer affects your emotions, when their presence or absence has no bearing on your happiness, when you have elevated yourself so much that their attempts to harm you feel insignificant. That is when you have truly won. It is not about proving them wrong. It is about proving to yourself that they were never as important as they once seemed. It is about realizing that your energy is far too valuable to be wasted on anything that does not contribute to your growth. Outshining rather than outfighting is a shift in perspective. It is choosing to rise above rather than retaliate, choosing to succeed rather than seek revenge, choosing to focus on yourself rather than be consumed by those who do not deserve your attention. It is the ultimate power move, the most effective way to dismantle those who try to hold you back, because nothing is more powerful than someone who refuses to be controlled, refuses to be broken, and refuses to be anything less than their greatest self. Emotional detachment is one of the most powerful skills a person can develop when it comes to maintaining control and shifting the power dynamic in their favor. Emotions, when unchecked, can be the very thing that keeps people trapped in toxic cycles, reacting to situations that do not serve them and giving others power over their thoughts and actions. When someone has the ability to trigger an emotional reaction in you, they hold influence over you. They can manipulate you, keep you engaged in conflicts that drain you and disrupt your focus. But when you master emotional detachment, you remove their ability to control you. You become an observer rather than a participant in unnecessary drama, and you develop the ability to move forward unaffected, no longer tied to the weight of past hurts or present conflicts. Detachment does not mean you stop feeling emotion. It does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means taking back control of how you respond, choosing not to let external forces dictate your internal state. It means recognizing that emotions are temporary, that anger, sadness, frustration, these are passing waves that should not determine your actions. It means becoming intentional about where you place your energy, learning that not everything deserves a reaction, and understanding that your peace is worth more than any battle someone tries to drag you into. When you practice emotional detachment, you begin to see situations for what they are instead of how they feel. Most people are controlled by their emotions, making impulsive decisions in the heat of the moment, reacting out of anger, seeking revenge, or holding on to resentment. But when you take a step back and detach emotionally, you gain clarity. You see patterns. You recognize manipulation. You understand the true nature of a situation instead of being blinded by your immediate emotional response. This clarity is what allows you to move strategically instead of reactively, to navigate life with a level of control that others lack. People who try to hurt you rely on your emotional response. They want to see you upset. They want you to react. They want to know that they still have an effect on you. The moment you stop giving them that reaction, you take away their power. You become unpredictable. They no longer know if their words or actions have any effect, and this creates frustration for them. When someone no longer knows how to control you, they lose interest in trying. Emotional detachment allows you to neutralize those who seek to harm you without ever having to engage with them. It is the most powerful form of self-protection, an invisible shield that keeps you untouchable. One of the greatest strengths of emotional detachment is that it allows you to remain focused on your own growth. When you are not caught up in the highs and lows of external drama, you can dedicate your energy to things that actually matter. You stop wasting time on arguments, on people who drain you, on situations that do not contribute to your success. You become someone who is unbothered, whose mood is not dictated by what others say or do. And in doing so, you create a level of stability and inner peace that others envy but do not understand. Detachment is not about ignoring your emotions, but rather mastering them. It is about understanding that emotions are signals, not commands. Just because you feel anger does not mean you need to act on it. Just because you feel sadness does not mean you need to dwell in it. You learn to observe your emotions, acknowledge them, and let them pass without allowing them to dictate your actions. This is where true power lies. Being in control of yourself when others are trying to provoke a reaction. Maintaining your composure when someone is trying to get under your skin. Walking away when someone expects you to engage. When you detach emotionally from people who have wronged you, you free yourself. Holding on to resentment keeps you tied to them. Replaying past events in your mind keeps you trapped in the past. Seeking closure from someone who does not care keeps you stuck in a cycle of seeking validation. But when you decide to let go, to detach, to move forward without needing anything from them, not an apology, not recognition, not revenge, you take back your power, you reclaim your energy. You shift from being someone who is emotionally reactive to someone who is emotionally in control. There is also a psychological advantage to emotional detachment. People who are easily triggered are easy to manipulate. They are predictable, reactive, and can be controlled by those who know how to push their buttons. But when you master detachment, you become unreadable. You do not react the way people expect. You do not get pulled into unnecessary drama. You do not waste time explaining yourself to those who do not deserve an explanation. And this makes you powerful. People do not know where they stand with you, and that uncertainty gives you the upper hand in any situation. Emotional detachment also allows you to move on without regret. Many people stay stuck in the past because they are emotionally tied to it. They replay situations in their minds, overanalyze what went wrong, wish things had turned out differently. But when you detach, you accept things as they are. You stop looking for closure because you understand that closure is something you give yourself. You stop waiting for people to change because you realize that their actions are not your responsibility. You stop trying to rewrite the past and instead focus on building your future. One of the most liberating realizations that comes with emotional detachment is that not everything needs your attention. You learn to choose your battles wisely. You recognize that some things are simply not worth your energy. You understand that silence is often more powerful than words, that walking away is often a greater statement than engaging, that maintaining your peace is worth more than proving a point. When you reach this level of detachment, you no longer feel the need to justify yourself to anyone. You no longer explain your actions to those who will never understand. You no longer waste time proving yourself to those who are not worth it. There is a misconception that emotional detachment makes a person heartless or unfeeling. In reality, it makes a person wise. It allows you to operate from a place of logic rather than harm you. It gives you the ability to remain steady in the face of chaos, to keep moving forward when others try to hold you back, to live a life that is free from the burden of unnecessary emotional turmoil. It is not about shutting down emotions, but about ensuring that they do not control you. When you detach, you stop seeking validation from others. You stop needing approval. You stop basing your happiness on external circumstances. Instead, you find contentment within yourself. You learn that true power is not about controlling others, but about controlling yourself. You discover that peace is not something given to you by the world, but something you cultivate from within. And when you reach this point, you become truly unstoppable. You no longer react, you choose. You no longer seek revenge, you move forward. You no longer fight meaningless battles, you focus on winning the war of self